KEET-TV and the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County present a forum for candidates running for the Arcata City Council. Viewers may submit questions during this forum by calling 707-445-0811. This forum is also being streamed live at KEET.org. And now your moderator from the League of Women Voters, Ann Hartline.
Good evening. I'm Ann Hartline with the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County. I'd like to welcome all our viewers tonight for a live candidates forum with the 6 candidates for 2 four-year seats on the Arcata City Council. Candidates with us this evening are Raylina Crixton, Meredith Matthews, appointed incumbent, Dana Quillman, Jeffrey Scott Sterling, Brett Watson, incumbent, and Kimberly White. The League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization, encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League never endorses candidates or political parties. We do take positions on issues after extensive study and member consensus. The League is dedicated to providing impartial information about voting and the political process. Membership in the League is open to women and men 16 years and older. League members are serving tonight as question sorters, timekeeper, courier, and phone volunteers. Their names will appear in the credits after the program. Since the majority of our program tonight will use questions called in from viewers, I encourage you to begin calling in your questions to 707-445-0811. Our volunteers are waiting to take your calls. Some information about the job of Arcata City Council member. The City Council orders elections, levies taxes, authorizes public improvements, approves contracts, and adopts traffic regulations. It adopts or modifies proposed budgets and provides the necessary funds, equipment, and supplies for the budgetary departments. It is directly responsible to the people. The salary for this position is $9,267 per year. Each elected council member will serve a four-year term. 2 positions are available. The format for tonight's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will be given a maximum of 1 minute to respond to questions previously sent to the League of Women Voters of Humboldt County or phoned in by the viewing audience. Questions will be screened by League members to eliminate questions of a personal nature and to prevent duplication. At the end of the question period, each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement. The candidates have drawn lots to determine the order of closing statements. So we will now begin with the question portion of our program. Again, the number to call is area code 707-445-0811. So our first question will begin with Raylina Crixton. The question is, what skills or experience make you uniquely qualified to serve on Arcata's City Council?
Thank you very much. As someone who's run their own business for the past 10 years, many of the same skills that apply to entrepreneurship also apply to the City Council position. Negotiations, as well as creative problem solving, and also, most importantly, listening. Listening skills are one of the most important qualities of a leader, I believe, and being able to articulate what those issues or topics are that arise. As a renter, I am representative of 60% of Arcata's population, and I do believe that the closer that we can become to having a representative government that represents our community, the better.
Our next response will be from Meredith Matthews.
Hi, thank you so much. So I was appointed to the Arcata City Council in August of 2021, and I feel like I really hit the ground running. I brought with me years of experience on the Economic Development Committee for Arcata, 1 year as a chair. I've been on the board of the Arcata Chamber of Commerce. I'm a many-year volunteer for Arcata Main Street. I've been a business manager, and I've also worked in Eastern Humboldt in Orleans with the Mid-Klamath Watershed Council doing fundraising. I've worked with the tribes. I'm also a mother of 3 sons that go to our Arcata school system, and I also, most importantly, have a deep love of Arcata. I'm an active listener and a leader. Thank you.
Our next response will be from Dana Quillman.
Thank you very much. I've lived in Humboldt County for 41 years. I know the community very well. I've been a homeowner in Arcata for 35 years. I've been an activist. I helped to stop 800 home development in the Arcata Bottom back in 1996. I ran for city council in 2006 with the main reason I did that was because fluoride was on the ballot to get fluoride out of our water in the Arcata drinking water system. And I've been partnered with my significant other, Paul Patino, who's been on and off the council for 10 years. So I've been very educated by him about Arcata city politics. Thank you.
Our next response will be from Jeffrey Scott Sterling.
And great question. Thank you for having me tonight. What makes me uniquely qualified to run for city council is for the last 7 years I've been a elected commander for the American Legion. Since my involvement in Humboldt County, I get involved in the community, I get to know our local people. I get to know our local business owners, and I hear the true questions and the concerns. So going forward, having that opportunity in my skill set, I'd like to think that it would help me serve my community.
Brett Watson, your comments, please.
Starting in 2012, I served on the city's Economic Development Committee for 5 years. I chaired it for several years. And now I've served on the Arcata City Council for 5 years. And during these last 5 years, I've helped the city get through some of the biggest issues in the city's history, from the tragic murder of David Josiah Lawson to the McKinley statue debate, and also through the Village Housing Project. And during COVID, I was heavily involved in making sure we passed a responsible, conservative budget in light of the predicted economic downturn during that time. And I also created the city's COVID economic recovery group to do what we could to support business owners during that time. I'm a small business owner. I have a degree in forestry and a minor in environmental ethics from Cal Poly Humboldt. And I'm very passionate about serving Arcata. I take representing the views and beliefs of my constituents very seriously.
Kimberly White, your comments, please.
So I have a passion for housing, which brought me to the Arcata Planning Commission, which I've had an honor of serving for 3 years. I have a publication on affordable and cooperative housing through UC Davis Center for Cooperatives. I also work for Cooperation Humboldt. I have a master's degree from Cal Poly Humboldt. I also had an opportunity to take local government planning at Cal Poly Humboldt. My experience in the Planning Commission has given me the ability to understand long contracts, and I'm familiar with the general plan, of course, the local coastal plan, the housing element, and zoning. I get along with people and develop rapport quickly. I am a community organizer. That's what I do for my day job, and I'm actively, I am all about community engagement and participatory action research. And I think that's it.
All right. We'll for our next question, and we'll start with Dana Quillman. At this point, it is clear that the transition to Cal Poly Humboldt will result in an increase in enrollment in the very near future. What effects do you predict for the city of Arcata, and how can the city work with Cal Poly Humboldt to mutual advantage in this area? Dana Quillman, your thoughts, please.
Well, to be quite honest, I'm not really for the Gateway Project or for the increased enrollment of of the Cal Poly University. I feel that it is taking advantage of our city and using its power for its own interests without taking in consideration that we're a small city and we're already very crowded with parking, and I just think that it's too much. And then there's the wastewater treatment system that needs to be changed to a new location. I think the 2 articles that have been written by Michael Mackey in the Mad River Union really talk about that, and I agree with everything he said. I would really like them to decrease their enrollment, and I would like them to find other places to house some of their students, like McKinleyville and Eureka. Thank you.
Kimberly White, your response to this question, please.
Could you repeat the question,
I
please?
sure can. At this point, it is clear that the transition to Cal Poly Humboldt will result in an increase in enrollment in the very near future. What effects do you predict for the city of Arcata, and how can the city work with Cal Poly Humboldt to mutual advantage in this area?
Thank you. So we definitely need to deepen our connections with Cal Poly Humboldt. When I was a student, we had partnered a lot with Cal Poly Humboldt, and for whatever reason, that's not happening now. And in particular, as we have the Gateway Area Plan, which is infill development to address the housing crisis and to address the expansion of Cal Poly Humboldt, we definitely need to start partnering with Cal Poly Humboldt. We need to also talk to them about infrastructure. I don't know that it's appropriate to have Arcata to foot the bill for all of the infrastructure, whether that be the wastewater treatment plant, the Arcata Fire District, streets. All of those things, I think, need to be brought to the table, and we need to partner with Cal Poly Humboldt.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your response, please.
I think the increase with enrollment at Cal Poly can go many ways. Our goal as Arcadians is to come together with Cal Poly and help them grow. Cal Poly becoming Cal Poly Technical School in California is great for our community, but it can get out of control if we don't help the process of that growth and work with the university and our community residents to make sure we have the growth that our residents have always enjoyed having in Humboldt County. I moved up here for the lower pace of life. I'd like to keep it that way, but I also understand that the university has to grow. So if we can work together and partner with that and get the right process for our community, I think we can go a long ways.
Meredith Matthews, your response, please.
Sure. Well, I am happy to say that I've already started making some connections with some of the staff at Cal Poly Humboldt. I'm actually very excited about all these incoming students. In my day job, I work for Redwood Coast Energy Authority, which is, and I do a lot of workforce development. And so as someone that hires for very technical positions, I'm really thrilled that we're having STEM educated students that will come to Cal Poly, get educated here, hopefully get great jobs here and stay within our community. I believe that the #1 thing that we need for our students is to house them. I am really in favor of a dense, walkable housing situation for the students. I know that housing is also being built in Eureka and McKinleyville as well, but I'm looking forward to some robust conversations about having Cal Poly help us with transportation infrastructure and all the other, thank you.
Brett Watson, your comments on this issue, please.
Yeah, so I think for a long time, Cal Poly Humboldt has been the largest economic driver in our county. And if increased enrollment isn't carefully planned and responsibly done, it will absolutely impact every aspect of our city. So I think that we absolutely need to make diplomacy, collaboration, and civil discourse as our first and most important efforts to find common ground in a shared vision with Cal Poly Humboldt. However, throughout my 5 years on the council, there has always been this sentiment that the city and the university need to be partners in all of our planning. And, throughout the years over experience, they rarely stay true to that partnership. They make huge decisions that significantly impact our entire community, often without public discourse and often without a conversation with the city government. So, I think in the end, we need to start with diplomacy, collaboration, and civil discourse and try to work together. But we also need to be realistic. If that doesn't happen, we need to come together as a community and let Cal Poly Humboldt know we are here, this is our city, and we won't be ignored.
Raylena Crixton, your thoughts, please.
Well, housing certainly is the elephant in the room, and with an increase of students coming into our area, which is a huge opportunity for mindful, intentional growth. To Meredith's point, there is growth happening outside of the city, but in order to create a future that's environmentally conscientious, we can't create infrastructure that relies on driving into the city. I think one way that the city and the university could work together, an easy win, is through things like independent shared transportation. There's models that have been proven in other parts of the nation where shared transportation is a great way that we can utilize the benefits of getting around independently, but not have to rely on individual vehicles, for example. In addition to that, increasing the housing stock that we have, as well as the independent owners of housing in Arcata, is very important. Thank you.
All right, our next question, and we'll begin with Jeffrey Scott Sterling. How up to date are you on the dioxin plume on the Mad River, which is moving toward our intake well, and what plans do you have to clean it up?
I have not put myself up to date into the Mad River dioxin. I you say that correctly. I do understand that it's an issue, and I think our scientists are who we need to look into and follow their studies where we should go forward. Running for city council, the goal is to find the right people, the educated scientists that can give us the right path to set us in the correct direction for a healthy environment.
Kimberly White, your thoughts, please.
So the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District, in which the city is a municipal customer, has been leading efforts to work with the Department of Toxic Substance to speed up their progress to remediate the site. The Department of Toxic Substance has already provided the city of Arcata a letter requesting cleanup on March of 2021. And the board meeting reiterated the city's requested urgency for remediation. I would suggest that we give a call to the office and push this matter. It needs to be dealt with. I know that out in Valley West we have some citizens out there that have been really concerned about this, and we've been talking about it as a community of what we can do. So again, I would encourage citizens to become abreast of what's happening and to get involved. Thank you.
Brett Watson, your comments on this issue, please.
This is actually the first I've heard of the dioxin plume on the Mad River. Yeah, nobody has contacted me yet about it. I have not been informed by our staff about it. So, to me, when you have a significant problem like that, I think a good solution is to work with the existing groups, as Kimberly pointed out, that are already paying attention to it. And I think it would be appropriate to, it's such a significant issue. The Mad River is, it's on our border. It's a resource that our community uses. And I think it would be appropriate to form a subcommittee of 2 council members to attend the necessary meetings and bring the specifics of the problems and solutions to the council for further discussion.
Raylena Crixton, your thoughts, please.
Well, as the water source for Arcata, this is definitely an issue that should be addressed. But while this is a great forum for it to be more widely recognized, I think that it could serve as a good fire drill for community resiliency and sustainability. Everybody needs water, but how can we ensure that any environmental hiccup that happens in the future, it doesn't directly impact how we live our day-to-day lives. Looking forward into the future, food resiliency comes into this as well. So while on this particular issue it hasn't been widely discussed yet, I think it opens up the conversation for how we can more easily work together as a community to provide more sustainable solutions to future problems.
Dana Quillman, your thoughts, please.
Tonight is the first time I've ever heard of this problem, and I feel like I got a little bit of an education from Kimberly White. Thank you, Kimberly. And if I was on council, I would be looking further into this and doing whatever I could to improve the situation. Thank you.
Meredith Matthews, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, like most of my colleagues, this is also the first time I'm really hearing about this. I am on the board of the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District, so that is interesting that it's not been brought to my attention. I plan to go back to my contacts and see how we can mitigate this situation. There's a council meeting on Wednesday, and I definitely plan on bringing that up as well. Thank you.
Our next question, and we'll begin with Kimberly White. Do you have any ideas on how to deal with the increasing homeless situation in Humboldt County and specifically in Arcata? Kimberly White.
Thank you for that good question. Homelessness is a nationwide problem, but I actually live in Valley West, where the majority of the unhoused community live. And I'm really excited to say that we have 2 home key programs that are going to be supportive homeless housing in the Valley West community. There will be housing for approximately 138 units, so some will be even double occupancy. But it's just a drop in the bucket. We need to be more proactive, and we need to look into other opportunities to address the unhoused community. I wake up every day and I see people living in the streets. Tiny house villages is one opportunity. I know that the Eureka, or actually Humboldt County, passed a tiny house law, which is going to make this much more feasible. But we need to stop talking about it and actually get in there and start doing the work. Everybody deserves a home. It's a human right.
Dana Quillman, your response, please.
I live in downtown Arcata, and I live right near people who are using the street as their restroom and sleeping on the street very close to my house. The first thing I think we have to address is not allowing any more lockdowns to ever happen again, because that for sure increased homelessness for everybody, for everywhere in the whole world. So we can't do any more lockdowns, number one. When Paul was on council, my partner, he was wanting to have Opportunity Village, which happens in Eugene, Oregon, have an Opportunity Village in Arcata. There's a site on Erickson Way that the city owns. I would like to see that come to fruition. Thank you.
Meredith Matthews, your thoughts on this issue, please.
Would you please repeat the question for me?
I sure
Thank
can.
you so much.
Let me make sure I say the right one. Do you have any ideas on how to deal with the increasing homeless situation in Humboldt County and Arcata in particular?
Sure, thank you so much. So I'd first like to start by saying that I'm extremely proud of the work that the council has done in the past year for our homeless situation. We have converted 2 hotels into Project Home Key for very low income housing. We have also used some ARPA funds for our safe parking program. In our budget, we have a 2 to 3 year homeless reduction strategy. Other things that I would like to see in the interim, I am the liaison with Cooperation Humboldt. I'm very interested in tiny house villages. We also need a cold weather strategy and emergency warming stations as it begins to get colder, but that's still not enough. I think our next step is to work with Humboldt County and the other municipalities to come up with a countywide solution. Thank you.
Brett Watson, your thoughts on this matter, please.
Yeah, it's probably, the biggest problem in our country. It's obviously a national epidemic. We've had, federal government and state governments try to approach this problem, and it's a significant problem to tackle. I think our first priority needs to be expanding mental health services for our entire community. There's data that shows that communities that provide these services experience lower rates of crime and lower rates of homelessness. So this is something I have raised with our council. The council does seem to be in agreement, but we need to do more than just talk about it. We need to take action on it. And it breaks my heart when I see people sleeping in the streets in freezing temperatures when I know we have these large public spaces just sitting empty. And for a long time, I've been a proponent of opening up some of our public spaces. And the city staff always pushes back on this. They're for community activities. But I firmly believe that if presented with the choice between holding a ping pong tournament in a community space versus providing a warm place to sleep for homeless population, our community is going to choose the latter.
Raylina Crixton, your thoughts, please.
Well, let's talk about Airbnbs. I think one way that we can increase housing right away is to incentivize current Airbnb owners to transform their rentals back into long-term rentals. Now, this can be done with, I think one Airbnb is appropriate to generate supplemental income, but more than one Airbnb, I think, should require a permit fee of, let's say $10,000. This money could go right into our housing trust fund. If you search today, there's over 600 Airbnbs with an average nightly rental price of $166. So, I think a community-oriented policy that incentivizes people to revert their Airbnbs back into long-term housing, we can create mechanisms to ensure that everybody wins. There should be opportunities for economic growth without sacrificing the well-being of the community. In addition to that, I would like to see a rent freeze to ensure that people who are currently housed don't end up homeless.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts, please.
Homelessness is across the board a problem. If we can create a utopia to fix that, that would be the goal. The goal to start, though, is to create people from becoming homeless. If they're financially burdened, and to help them before they become to the homeless stage. And once they get to the ones that are currently homeless now, how do we get them back to the jobs? How do we get them back to work to provide for themselves? So our goal should be focused on preventing people from being homeless, and the unfortunate state that they are at that homeless stage, we need to help them get back on their feet so they can provide for themselves. And it comes across rent, it comes across fair wages. So if we can create that utopia here in Arcata, that would be a great platform for the rest of the world.
Thank you. At this point, before I read the next question, I'd like to encourage our viewers to phone in their questions to area code 707-445-0811. All right, for our next question, and we'll begin with Kimberly White. The City of Arcata is in the middle of creating the Gateway Area Plan and updating the General Plan. Describe your personal involvement with the process. In your opinion, what additional discussion or input is needed before the plan is finalized? Kimberly White.
Thank you. So as I shared, I've had the honor to serve on the Arcata Planning Commissioner for 3 years, so I am directly working with the Gateway Area Plan. I think that there's been a lot of dissension, and it is heartbreaking to see the divisiveness in our community, because I think we all want the same thing, which is housing, and yesterday. The question is how we get there. So many folks are concerned that it is going to destroy the character of Arcata. I think that we can fill our housing needs and still maintain the character of Arcata. I think that before we move forward, that we need to discuss infrastructure. I know that the community feels like this has been staff-led rather than community-led. I think that we need to increase transparency. I think that we should be getting a survey out to all of the residents to ask the community what they want to see in the area, the Gateway Area Plan. And I'd like to hear some expert opinions so that that can inform our decision on the building height and what we want the future of Arcata to look like.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts on this matter, please.
The Gateway project is huge. Kimberly spoke on is infrastructure. Can our infrastructure handle the Gateway project? Fire department, can our fire department handle that? So I think we have a lot of questions to come in with the Gateway project. 8 stories is really big. And at the moment, Arcata is the only fire department that has a ladder truck. Also, where's everybody going to park their cars once they move in? They're not going to have it's going to be a walk community, which is great. What's that going to do to our local community in the plaza? Housing is important, but we make sure when we do housing, we do it correctly and we're not paying for it again in 10, 20 years. And what's the rent going to be for the people living in the Gateway project? Are they going to find a job that's going to make them adequate enough to afford to live in that new skyrise?
Raylina Crixton, your thoughts, please.
I think the Gateway Plan is an excellent opportunity for us to create mindful trajectories for growth in our community. We can very definitively say what it is that we need in order to grow in a mindful and healthy way. One thing that's of utmost importance for me and a lot of people like myself is that we ensure affordability within the Gateway Plan. Or any new development within Arcata for that matter. So technically this is called inclusionary zoning, and this has been proposed by many people besides myself. But what this says, any new building, we can say 25%, for example, should be affordable to low to moderate income people. In addition to that, I think there are other mechanisms where we can ensure affordability as we grow. But I think it's important not to limit ourselves based on fear of the unknown. We can have expert opinion come in and engineers afterwards, but just approving an area outside of where there are currently homes to be larger stories enables us to grow when we need to.
Brett Watson, your thoughts on this matter, please.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest issue I get feedback from the community on right now. And, you know, I think, in short, you know, you don't build a house and hope and pray that when the house is completed, you'll be able to flush your toilet. And that's what we're really talking about right now. When it comes to any future development in the city of Arcata, it comes down to the capacity of our wastewater treatment plant. We know, based off of the data we can confirm and that engineers support, that we can only add another 4,000 residents in the city. And you know, we have some people saying that, well, if we do X, Y, Z, then we hope maybe we can add more people. And we also basically have the Coastal Commission and the Regional Water Quality Control Board, you know, and also based off of their past decisions, it's incredibly likely they're going to tell us we have to move it. And you know, right now, the council just approved to spend $55 million on the wastewater treatment plant, which is on the bay. So it's like putting $55 million under the Pacific Ocean. I think that that's the conversation we need to have first. Any other conversation is putting the cart before the horse.
Meredith Matthews, your comments on this issue, please.
Sure. You know, the Gateway conversation has been something that has been with me ever since I got on the council. I've talked to countless people about it. What we need to remember is the Gateway Area Plan right now, it's a living document. So what we're talking about right now is what we can do. Before anything actually happens, everything is going to have to go through development and designers. They're the ones that are going to be required to do the EIRs, the soil studies, and even see if it pencils out. But the fact remains that we are in a housing crisis. We need houses. We need to look for ways to house the doctors that we need up here, to house our middle income residents, our low income residents, and we need to have a plan to do that, and also create some opportunities for home ownership as well. Thank you.
Dana Quillman, your response, please.
Well, as I said before, I don't approve of the Gateway project. You know, the main driver of needing housing is the university, and now they are creating a big problem with the kind of growth they want to do. I think that they need to reduce the amount of increase in their enrollment. And I think we have to understand that Arcata is a small area. It's a small footprint. It's natural borders, a river, a bay, the bottoms, the ocean, 100-year floodplain, and the forest. So if you just keep letting it grow and grow and grow and grow, we're going to be like rats in a little cage, okay? And people will not be happy. So we need parking. We have an aging population. I'm 66 years old. I'm partially disabled. I don't want to have my groceries delivered because I can't find a parking space. Thank you.
Our next question, and we'll begin with Jeffrey Scott Sterling. What will you do to help build and ensure a safe and comfortable working environment for all city employees? Jeffrey Scott Sterling.
Communication. The absolute key is communication. Speak with each employee, staff member, ask their concerns, their needs, their wants, and help address those, and just create a happy environment. It's being friendly. Treat yourself the way you want. Treat others the way you want to treat yourself, or be treated. And it's simple as that.
Dana Quillman, your thoughts on this matter, please.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I sure can. What will you do to help build and ensure a safe and comfortable working environment for all city employees?
Well, I don't really know what we can do. I mean, I don't know that we don't have a safe environment for city employees. I wasn't aware that we didn't have a safe environment for city employees. One thing I know for sure is I don't agree with any medical mandates at all. I don't agree with, if they ever come back, I will be the first to be opposing and not complying with them. So I don't really like that the city of Arcata went for all of these mandates and required them. And if I get on council, I will be opposed to all of them. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Brett Watson, your comments, please.
Yeah, I feel like we need to make a change in the culture at City Hall. Right now, we have senior staff members violating the city's own harassment and discrimination policies. Me personally, having attention deficit disorder, I've run into significant stereotypes and prejudices amongst our staff and frankly amongst some of my fellow council members. And I think that when we show that that's how we treat people that have mental health issues, disabilities, that you discourage other employees in the organization from coming forward. I think that when we identify these types of issues in the workplace, we need to come together as a workplace and help those people get the treatment they need so they can perform the job at the same level as other people. So I have asked for this training for months now, probably since the beginning of the year, maybe 5 times now. And I asked for it at the last council meeting. No council member or staff member expressed any interest in it. So I think that's a conversation we need to keep having.
Raylena Crixton, your thoughts, please.
Wow, well, I won't be using my power and privilege to intimidate or sexually harass any of the people who work at City Hall. For one, my blood is boiling right now. I can't believe you would just ignore the elephant in the room. That's my comment.
Meredith Matthews, your comments, please.
Every single person deserves to feel safe at work. Full stop. I don't really know what more I can say to that, but we cannot have a culture where people do not feel safe working for the city. I will say that one of our budget goals was to revisit DEI training. I've been in contact with several consultants that do those trainings and hope to bring it back to the council to approve. But bottom line, people need to feel safe and protected in their offices.
Kimberly White, your comments, please.
Thank you. I can really piggyback on what Jeff said, is that I think communication is key. I think that, in addition to the DEI training that Meredith had, is that we could also use some local resources like Humboldt Mediation. I think that there does need to be a culture shift, and we need to mend our divisiveness and rebuild our trust in local government by shifting and sharing power and creating a more transparent, responsive government, bringing us together for a stronger and better Arcata.
Our next question, and we will begin with Meredith Matthews. What would you do to improve transportation options currently available in Arcata?
Sure. Thank you for that question. Transportation and safe transportation is one of the things I'm most passionate about. One of the first things I did when getting onto the council was to bring the Complete Streets Ordinance to the council. Went through the Transportation Safety Committee and got adopted in May. I'm very proud of that. I'm passionate about making streets safe for all modalities, whether it be bicyclists, pedestrians, any kind of wheels. I'm also very interested in a robust public transportation system. I would really like, for example, how many of us are here? There's 6 of us from Arcata, and I bet you we all took one car to get here. So we need to be really aware of how we get around and kind of change our mindset and how we can make transportation something that's better for the environment. Thank you.
Kimberly White, your insight, please.
Could you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. Let me make sure I repeat that. What would you do to improve transportation options currently available in Arcata?
Thank you. So I know that at one point the county had an opportunity to have a grant, which was a match grant. So 50% would come from the state, 50% would come to the county. And likewise, I think that Arcata could do the same. I know Cal Poly Humboldt students get to ride the bus for free. I am a bus rider, but I will tell you that it's not convenient. And I returned to Cal Poly Humboldt to fill in some gaps in my education. It's been a while since I had got my master's at Cal Poly Humboldt. And it wasn't convenient. I have a fused ankle, and so at the end of the day, I was limping. I had to walk. The bus was not convenient. I do still try to ride it, but I think that we can do better. I think we need to improve our bike infrastructure. And I was also involved in the Complete Streets in the Planning Commission. As we approach the Gateway Area Plan, we really need to be cognizant of that we lack infrastructure right now. And so if we want people to park their cars, then we need to build in that infrastructure. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Thank you.
Raylina Crixton, your response, please.
Thank you for that question. When you look at transportation in the city, a lot of the trips are short trips in town. So think about errands, getting groceries, whether or not it's a trip where you need to carry things back to your home. I think that a shared fleet of vehicles is a great way that we can ensure individual, independent transportation without bogging down our streets with independently owned cars. So car sharing exists in lots of other places, but apart from that, creating safe bikeable lanes is one avenue to do it. Bicycle exclusive lanes is one way to do it, and as we grow, you know, there's things that we can put in place to ensure that we have good modes of transportation for all types.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your response, please.
Our transportation system in Arcata is lacking. The roads aren't safe to bicycle down. People run stop signs. You can't see around hedges. Our bus system doesn't run the greatest hours for people to be able to get to work. So I like to help improve that. I like to work with the county and the state to see if we can get more bus drivers out here, more bus routes, more bike lanes. I walk everywhere in Arcata. That's what I love about Arcata is I'm able to walk. I also ride my bike. I'll ride my electric scooter, which is one of the wonderful things about living where we live. So I like to see that increase. I know we're losing our rail system. We're going to get a bike path, trail path. That's amazing. So now the chance of going to Eureka, Arcata to Eureka is going to be a little safer. We need to work on our transportation. And as we grow, we need to think about that. Every person, as it was stated, drove themselves here because there's no accessible transportation to bring us to South Eureka. Thank you.
Dana Quillman, your response, please.
I think it's important for us to remember that we have a silver tsunami coming. So I'm only 66, my partner's 77. There's a lot of us, and there's going to be more of us in this county, way more than the younger population. Okay, so talking about building 8-story buildings where there's not going to be adequate parking is very idealistic. And I can appreciate that young people can skateboard and bike and walk and do all these things, but they are going to age too. And aging people need cars. We live in a rural area. Nobody could have gotten here today on the bus because we're at the top of Humboldt Hill. We live in a rural place and people need their cars. So all this talk about getting rid of cars is completely idealistic. Thank you.
Brett Watson, your thoughts on this matter,
Can I ask a
please.
process question really quick? A process question?
Sure.
Can I use my 1 minute to talk about anything that I want, or does it need to be?
You can use your 1 minute
Okay, cool.
to talk about anything you want.
Okay, great. So just to respond just quickly about the comment about the elephant in the room, I'll just quickly say that I feel like it's really important when there are issues that come up in the workplace that those concerned deserve due process, and they deserve transparent and unbiased investigations. So moving on to this question, I think we absolutely need to increase bus service citywide with more bus stops, more frequent visits to those stops. We need to take better care of our bike lanes. We need to actually clean our streets so when you're trying to ride your bike to work or to school or wherever you're going, you're not getting flat tires and potentially getting in an accident because there's debris in the road. And we need to make Arcata actually a bikeable city. I think that there's a lot of, we've done a lot. We do a lot of good things. Our intentions are good, but there's still a lot of work to do. And at the end of the day, it's a culture issue, right? Even in eco-groovy Arcata, people still like their cars. And it's a conversation we need to keep having with the community.
Our next question, and we'll begin with Brett Watson. Do you have any ideas on what can be done to clean up the city and deal with all the trash that is destroying the ambiance of our community?
I really appreciate that question. That is something that I have fought with our staff about ever since I've gotten the council. And it's always a we don't have enough resources answer. So let's dedicate the resources to that. I feel like, you want to talk about attracting people here, attracting businesses here. They want a safe and clean community. That's what's going to make people want to come here and stay here when they visit. If they come to visit their college kids, their children who are in college, if they come to, on a vacation and they see graffiti and dirty streets, an undesirable element on the plaza, for example, which we get a lot of complaints about, they're very unlikely to return. They're going to leave bad feedback for businesses and the hotels they stay in. So we need more resources. We need more staff that are dedicated to doing that work. So yeah, that's my answer, is putting more energy and putting more money into that effort.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts on this matter, please.
It's a huge topic. I spent most of my life volunteering, picking up trash. As soon as I moved up to Humboldt County, picking up trash. We don't have the resources out there. There's not enough trash cans for people to throw their trash away, but it is a law. It is a crime to litter. And I think we should hold people more accountable for littering, and we should have the accessibility to pick up our trash. We do need more public restrooms for our community on our trails. We are all taught, you pack it in, pack it out. Everybody should know this. No one should be littering. It's just ridiculous. Let's just stop littering and to take care of our environment and take care of yourself and throw your trash away. That's all. It's that simple, really.
Dana Quillman, your response to this question, please.
I think most of the problem with trash in our city is caused by the homeless problem. And it's not their fault. They don't have a place to throw their trash. So I'll just take the time to say more about Opportunity Village. Paul and I visited Opportunity Village in Eugene, Oregon, and we saw how it ran. It's a really great program. There's a book written about this type of village, and I think that we need not just one of these villages, but several of these villages in Arcata and in Humboldt County. And so anybody can go online and Google it, find out how it is. I think once we get people to have a place of their own, whether it be a place in Opportunity Village or in one of the hotels that are being transitioned, the trash problem will go away. Thank you.
Kimberly White, your response to this question, please.
Thank you. So I live in Valley West, and as you know, it's the first place that potential tourists and potential Cal Poly Humboldt students and families see. And I am involved, I'm a co-coordinator for CUNA, Comunidad Unida del Norte Arcata, or Community United of North Arcata. And we do weekly and monthly community clean the sidewalk events. And I think that the community does want to get involved. I think that we need more trash cans and recycling all over the city. But I have particularly noted that we lack that in Valley West. We've been trying to do something called plogging, which is you're jogging and you're cleaning up your community. We need to get some pride in the community. And as Dana pointed out, a lot of our garbage is from the unhoused population, and we do need to have better resources so that people do have a place. We could have, I know there's a sign out in Valley West that says, "Do not leave your trash here," and right underneath it you have mattresses and broken down furniture. So maybe we could have some kind of program in the city that goes around and can refurbish and reuse some of these items so that they don't land in the waste, in the dump. What else can I say? Humboldt Unified School District also has a program that has involved, and if we can increase budgeting there out in the marsh, we can
Thank you.
help in Valley West. Thank you.
Raylina Crixton, your comments, please.
I think it comes down to, if you see trash out, pick it up. Having pride and ownership of where you live is really important, and I'll take a moment to talk about housing and forms of ownership. Myself, as well as other people like myself, have been caught in this situation where, we have the money saved up to buy a house, but the way the housing market is, the rug has just been pulled under us, and there aren't any opportunities. I do enjoy living in my apartment. I live in this about 800 square feet, and I think it's a great footprint for life. But I would like to create housing security for myself and own that apartment like a condo, for instance. I know that a lot of people are in the same situation, and when you have a sense of ownership for where you live, you can take better care of where you are. Now, granted, there are larger issues at play, like mattresses or other large, bulky items. I would like to see a revitalization of some of the more forward-thinking policies that we had in Arcata in the 60s and 70s, like a community recycling and reuse center, where we can focus on eliminating single-use items and repurposing larger trash.
Meredith Matthews, your comments, please.
Hi, thank you. I guess one of the benefits of going last for this question is that I can emphatically agree with every single one of my colleagues. Everything they said is absolutely spot on. We need more trash cans. I've been asking for more trash cans, especially in Valley West, since I got on the council. I, in the last year and before that, have participated in countless cleanups, whether it's with Pack Out or with CUNA or with the city with Valley West. And it's amazing the sheer amount. I mean, some of those Pack Out cleanups in the tons is amounts of trash. So I think that it also boils down to, like some of my colleagues were saying, pride in ownership. Local businesses, if they just clean up outside of their businesses, if you see trash, pick it up. But it's not an easy solution, but we just all have to be a little bit more responsible for our actions.
Our next question, and we'll start with Kimberly White. What have you done to be an ally to our LGBTQIA plus community and other underrepresented members of our community?
Thank you. It's a great question. Well, first of all, I work for an organization that advocates for the BIPOC and the LGBTQ community. CUNA, also, I am co-coordinator, is Comunidad Unida del Norte Arcata, and we were getting ready to do a staff meeting, and we got a call from Central de Pueblo, and they had their garden sign desecrated. And so what we did was we canceled our staff meeting and we went and stood in solidarity, because there's just no room for hate in Arcata, whether it be people of color, whether it would be the Jewish community, whether it would be our Latinx or Hispanic culture. There's just simply no room for hate in our community. I think that we can do more. I think that we need to have training. We need to have more training with our law enforcement. I think that City Council could also use training. I think we should have community workshops that also increase training and awareness of, I guess it's stop time, sorry.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts, please.
As Kimberly stated, there's no hate. There's no room for hate. And for me to be an ally is to have an open ear, to listen to concerns. And I've always lived in the philosophy, you see something, you say something. So if I see someone being a bully, I have to say something. It's not okay. Treat everyone with respect, no matter their differences. We're all human. We're all trying to just get along. Open ear. No one should feel discriminated against. No one should feel a fear of being who they are. That's just not okay. We treat each other the way you want to be treated. That's all I can say.
Brett Watson, your thoughts, please.
Will you please repeat the question?
Certainly. What have you done to be an ally to our LGBTQIA plus community and other underrepresented members of our community?
Yeah, that's a great question. Somebody actually asked this on Los Coast Outpost elections, and my response was that, even though, so I am half Mexican, but I clearly identify as white, and so that was, just a privilege that I've always lived with. I don't think I've ever had personally experienced any racism. I've seen it against my family, at the end of the day, I feel like, me as a white person identifying, and as an entire city council of white people, we're not the best people to come up with these solutions. And I think that we need to hear from people in these underrepresented communities and, get a better understanding of their experiences and what they feel like those solutions are. And so, once we can get that input, then I think it is appropriate for us as a council to, take on that input and come up with the best solutions we can.
Meredith Matthews, your comments, please.
Sure. One of my favorite things about being on the City Council is that I am able to use my voice for those that don't have voices heard. As you may have seen in the past 2 years, I've spoken in public quite passionately about anti-hate. I am a member of an underrepresented I'm Jewish. I am on the anti-Semitism task force. I've been calling out all the anti-Semitic propaganda. I am in meetings with Queer Humboldt. I was trying to get Pride on the Plaza started again. I've met with the executive director of Queer Humboldt, and we're looking at a way to add language to the new ordinances we passed, to add LGBTQAI language to those ordinances to make it more inclusive for when we pass ordinances. I am a member of Equity Arcata. I'm a member of the racial justice team for my work. Thank you.
Brelina Crixton, your thoughts, please.
In my own line of work, I own and operate a design agency and creative marketing agency, and I'm made it a very poignant point to work with underrepresented people in terms of models and marketing material. There's a lot of people that look like me that are used to sell products, and I don't agree that that's correct. I would like to continue to use the privilege that I've just been born with to enable other people to succeed and just champion other people in the space. When it comes to political matters, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to champion those issues for different communities and being a receptive ear as well as someone who will take action.
Dana Quillman, your thoughts on this matter, please.
I've always thought that Arcata is a very inclusive city. I've lived here I've lived in Humboldt County and really around Arcata for 41 years, and it's always felt like people can be whoever they want to be here. It's been the most free place I've ever experienced. I think that the university has brought a lot of people of color to the area. And if you look at the demographic of Humboldt County, it has mostly been, what we call white. People may think I'm white. I'm also half Mexican, just like Brett. So I think that there's always a culture clash when you have a big migration of people that, people of color into an area that has been mostly white and rural. And so it's just going to take time. It's going to take time, and people need to not take things so personally is number one. And the biggest discriminated people right now are unvaccinated. Okay, so if you're going to talk about discrimination and who's not represented, it's us. Thank you.
Our next question, and we'll begin with Brett Watson. What is your opinion on recent trends regarding defunding the police?
Yeah, it's something we've talked about over the last few years. I think at the end of the day, the way I see it is it's a really important conversation to have, but it's really more suited for these massive police departments like the city of LA or Chicago that just have an insane amount of money going into their departments. In the city of Arcata, we have a very modest police force. I think right now it might be 27 officers. And at the end of the day, that leaves 3 officers at any given time to take care of the entire city. I personally would like to see more officers on the streets, and our chief right now is working towards that. And I believe that we need to put a little bit more money in our police department. So, what I'm going to be pushing for is increasing all the current officers' pays by 10%, because then that will put it on the level of a national average, and to increase our efforts and increase funding to attract more officers. I'd like to see at least 4 officers, if not 5 on duty at a time, and I feel like that's reasonable.
Raylena Crixton, your thoughts, please.
I would like to see more funding for different kinds of community benefits. When we think about defunding the police, it doesn't mean taking away money from police officers. It means putting money into other community benefits that are going to serve our community better. If someone's having a manic episode, for instance, what recourse do you have but to call 911? Instead, having other kinds of I don't want to say task forces, but groups of professionals that can be called on by the community for different situations that don't necessitate involving the police, because we do have a small police force here that they can be better utilized in other places. The majority of what we need in our community is essentially outside of what police officers are trained to do. And to that point, police officers should be trained in more things that would enable them to handle situations in a nonviolent manner.
Meredith Matthews, your thoughts, please.
Sure. Well, since I've been on the council, I've had the opportunity to do ride-alongs with the APD 3 times, and each time it has been really eye-opening. Currently, the APD is budgeted for 27 police officers, and we have 22. I have witnessed what my colleague was talking about when the 3 officers that are on duty are all pulled in one place, leaving pretty much the rest of the city not being served. I think that we have our MIST program that was funded for 3 additional years from our ARPA funds that also helps us. This community outreach, the community ambassadors are also helpful. Just the things that we need the police for, our streets. I get emails all the time about how people are speeding down the streets. There's no people giving tickets. So just for things like that, I think we need more officers on the street. Thank you.
Dana Quillman, your response, please.
Well, I definitely am against all the defund the police movement, very opposed to it. We see what's happened all over the country. It has been a disaster. So, I think the Arcata police are really good people, and I think we need more of them, and we need to pay them well, and we need to appreciate them. And we have to understand that we have a transient population in this city that's largely created by the university. And I think the university police need to do more than the share that they probably are doing, since so many of the problems are created by the university being in our town. So I'm very supportive of our police department, and I think that we always have to have their back. Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts, please.
As a Marine Corps veteran and a graduate from the College of Redwoods Police Academy, defunding the police is a scary topic. Right now I know the city of Arcata is down 4 officers. We need to help them get those 4 officers. I don't want a police state. I want community service officers that are out there to serve and protect our community. I think we need to increase police officers on the plaza and walking beats at night, Fridays and Saturdays, especially during the bar nights. People don't feel safe. So if we continue to defund a system that was designed to help us, which needs a lot of training and needs to constantly train, and I think we need to make more requirements on their training, what types of training, and mental health issues that are coming to rise. Not every officer is equipped to deal with that, but I promise you that 95% or more, when they join to become cops, they really care about the community and they want to help their local community. So if we can support them and keep our streets safe, we support our community. Thank you.
Kimberly White, your comments, please.
Thank you. I think Chief Ahern is doing a good job. I think that we need to actually increase our funding. And again, I go back to Valley West, is that there's a lot of crime out there. And we've been trying to get a kiosk out there, and I hope that we can get that to come to fruition now that we've upgraded the radio system. I don't think that being poor should be a crime, though. Neither should having a mental health issue or substance use disorder. I am for creating programs that can be diversion. We have a great ambassador program that just started up. We have a wonderful juvenile diversion program, MIST, the mobile intervention program. I think that we need to start investing, though, to help our police so that they can actually do their job instead of being social workers. Thank you.
Our next question, and we'll begin with Raylena Crixton. How can the city work to mitigate the disastrous combined effects of rising seas and sinking coastline on Arcata and our wastewater treatment plant?
Well, I think that's a question literally for engineers. But if the insinuation here is that we shouldn't be building more housing in areas like the Gateway Plan, I think that there's ways that we can ensure that new growth is not only good for the environment, but also serves our community well as well. We're in a weird zone where we're experiencing faster sea level rise because of the subduction of where we are. However, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't act.
Meredith Matthews, your comments, please.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
I can.
Thank you.
How can the city work to mitigate the disastrous combined effects of rising seas and sinking coastline on Arcata and our wastewater treatment plant?
Sure. Thank you for that question. I know it's something that everybody likes to discuss. Let me first start by saying that the money that we just allocated to the wastewater treatment fund, that was just for phase 1. Basically, that was to replace the aging infrastructure and allow us all to keep our toilets flushing. Everything else is going through constant review. And, you know, sea level rise, it's not an if, it's a when. So the important thing is to, before we decide to build, have our developers and our architects do those studies and make sure that the grounds are safe. I'm completely in favor of the Planning Commission calling in whatever experts they would like to hear from to talk to them about sea level rise and our wastewater treatment plant and infrastructure. But at the end of the day, that phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant was 100% necessary. Thank you.
Dana Quillman, your thoughts, please.
Well, as I've said earlier tonight, I do not approve of the Gateway Area project. I think it's the wrong time to be doing something of this magnitude when we are facing the wastewater treatment plant relocation in not a short period of time, and in a short period of time. And also dislocation of our city. We just have to look at realistically, you know, people want to come and live here, but you know what? It's a small footprint and we have natural borders. And so we need to really start to look at, we cannot just grow like a place that has as much room as you want to grow in. We can't, there's no room for sprawl. So we really need to encourage the university to decrease their enrollment and for people to have realistic expectations of how Arcata can grow without ruining the city and all of our quality of life. Thank you.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your thoughts, please.
Rising sea levels, the sea is going to rise. So as we go forward with development, we need to get on the table and discuss how we're going to develop going forward, knowing that our sea is rising. 3 months out of the year, Humboldt County becomes an island with washouts from the roads, mudslides, trees falling down, boulders. We're aware of these things. So as we go forward, let's stop wasting taxpayer dollars and make sure that we're building the infrastructure that supports the needs of our community and our environment that we live in.
Brett Watson, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think in the city of Arcata, the wastewater treatment facility is our biggest concern. You know, the reason I voted against spending $55 million on it was a couple of reasons, you know, at our last council meeting. You know, at first when we brought this up in 2019 to the council, they told us that phase 1 and phase 2 together were going to be $55 to $60 million. And we decided to do phase 1 first, maybe up to $30 million of taxpayer money. Based off of those numbers, we raised everybody's rates in the city. A lot of people are low income and it really hit them hard. And now at our last meeting, they tell us that the project is basically doubled in cost, and phase 1 alone is going to cost $55 million. So there was really no discussion with the community about that. There was really no discussion amongst the council members about that. And again, the Regional Wastewater Quality Control Board has basically ordered us to study relocating the facility. And from past examples, the Coastal Commission has made at least one other city move their facility miles inland. So, you know, that's what I feel like we need to be talking about right now, is moving the plant instead of putting more money into it.
Kimberly White, your thoughts, please.
Thank you. Well, first let me say the Nile is not just a river in Egypt. We need to come to terms. Our wastewater treatment plant is going to be underwater and has, you know, the Times Standard has had various articles. The San Francisco Chronicle has talked about what's going to happen to Humboldt County and Arcata in particular. We did spend over $50 million in our or going to, in our wastewater treatment plant. But we have no choice. It's a stopgap measure because we were not proactive. I had an opportunity to, there was a recent Cal Poly Humboldt seminar in wastewater, sea level rise, excuse me, and I also was able to interview with Alderon Laird. And I think that, you know, the stopgap measure, a way to mitigate, I should say, not a stopgap measure, a way to mitigate is to bring in the experts. And we do have experts, and we're really fortunate to have these experts. Jeff Anderson, civil engineer, Jen Kalt, Humboldt Baykeeper, the grand jury report, California Coastal Commission, the writing's on the wall. Michael Mackey put in an article and he said, you know what, we're going to be SOL. And if we don't have a wastewater treatment plant, then there's going to be no Arcata.
All right, this will be our final question before we come to closing statements. And on this question, we'll start with Dana Quillman. Who are your significant individual and group contributors and endorsements?
Well, that's simple because I don't believe in endorsements. And I don't believe in lawn signs, and I don't believe in campaign donations. So I guess my biggest fan is my partner, Paul Patino. And I'm actually a part of a very large health freedom community here in Humboldt County that got started. Those of us that did not go along with the COVID narrative, that didn't believe in all of the things, the restrictions that were being put on us. So there's a very large group of us, and please contact me if you'd like to join our group. And I would say all of those, at least 800 people, are my supporters. Thank you.
Kimberly White, your response, please.
So I don't take any corporate money. I believe that big money needs to be out of politics. I have been getting contributions, but they're from individuals as well as organizations. I'm honored to be endorsed by the Humboldt County Democrat Central Committee, Humboldt Progressive Democrats, Delnor and Central, Humboldt County, Delnor County Central Labor Council, and Humboldt Healthcare for All. So those have been my contributions coming from them as well as from individuals. And again, I will not take any corporate money, and I do believe that big money needs to be out of politics. Thank you.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your response, please.
Yeah, it's simple. I have no endorsements. I took no endorsements, put no yard signs out. I believe actions speak louder than words. And when the city nominates me, elects me November 8th at Election Day, they will be my constituents. They'll be who I answer to and who support me as I support them.
Meredith Matthews, your comments, please.
Sure. I'm very grateful for my family and my friends for their incremental small donations that they've made to my campaign. I have not had any corporate sponsors, but I am so proud. You know, this is the first time that I've been campaigning. I was appointed last, so this has been a real wonderful experience, and I'm so honored that I've been endorsed by the Humboldt County Democratic Central Committee, the Humboldt County Progressive Democrats. I've been endorsed by State Senator Mike McGuire, county supervisors, current and oncoming, and yeah, and it's just a real heady experience to connect with people whose values I share and have them recognize that and endorse me. So thank you.
Brett Watson, your response, please.
Yeah, you know, first and foremost, my biggest and most important supporter is my family, right? My wife, my mom, my sister, my grandmother. And after that, it is the voters of Arcata. You know, I held one fundraiser earlier in September. People were incredibly generous, and based off of the last campaign filings, it looks like I'm the only candidate that really raised any significant amount of money from Arcata voters. So to me, that shows a lot of support. And I think when you take these endorsements, I've learned this from my last election, when you take these endorsements from groups, it's a double-edged sword because they have expectations, right? It's kind of like a quid pro quo, an unspoken quid pro quo that, you know, we'll throw our name behind you and you know, maybe do a mailer for you or write you a check. But when we want you to do what we want, we expect you to do what we want. So, you know, that's just something I learned the hard way, that it's not really something, a position I like to be in. So right now I'm very happy with the amount of support I'm getting.
Breelina Crixton, your response, please.
Coming from outside of the political space affords me the ability to be a true voice for myself and also the majority of people who live in Arcata, 60% of which are renters. While I don't have formal political endorsements, I don't have any conflicts of interest whatsoever. So in the political space, that's a rarity in itself. As for endorsements, I hope every single person I've talked to who is also a renter is really excited about the opportunity of what they say is a real person running for government. I don't have aspirations to be in government, but I feel that we need people who have creative thinking skills, who are willing to step up to the plate and be articulate when it comes to forming responses and strategies and policies for our future.
All right, to close the program, we will now hear a closing statement from each candidate in summation, and we will start with Brett Watson.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity tonight to the League of Women Voters and the KEET. I think it went really well for everybody. And so I'm running for re-election because I believe serving on the City Council is the greatest form of public service I can provide for my community. It's also one of the most rewarding experiences when you see how the decisions you make can have positive impacts on people's lives. I will fight to bring back accountability, transparency, and public engagement to our city government. I don't pay lip service to the issues my constituents are concerned with. I listen to what Arcatans have to say, and then I represent their views and beliefs in my words, actions, and votes on the dais. And if anyone has any questions or comments for me, nothing's off the table. Please contact me through my website, brettwatson.org. I'm happy to talk with anybody, meet in person, on the phone, email exchanges. please feel, I encourage people to reach out to me, whatever your concerns are. Thank you very much.
Meredith Matthews, your closing statement, please.
Sure, and I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. You know, I was appointed to Arcata City Council in August, and I feel like I've really hit the ground running. I look forward to 4 more years. I feel like I want to align our economic and development needs to meet the exciting new opportunities that are coming to Arcata, and still maintain the Arcata that we moved here for, progressive ideas, a welcoming community, unmitigated access to beauty and nature, one-of-a-kind events and local businesses, and all through the lens of the climate crisis. In my short time so far on the council, I've made connections that I hope to continue to build on. I've worked with Rocker and 350 Humboldt to pass the Complete Streets Ordinance. I have a burgeoning relationship with tribal leaders. I've been recognized as a climate action champion, which I'm very proud of. I've been the council liaison for CUNA and Cooperation Humboldt. I'm also on the board of Humboldt Made, which I'm very proud of. I very much support our local businesses. I have knowledge of Arcata's infrastructure and economic goals, rapport with our local businesses, and I'm committed to addressing our critical housing needs. I think I've proven this year that I can provide strong leadership. Thank you.
Raylina Crixton, your closing statement, please.
I think that people are less likely to speak up if they aren't going to be heard. I would like to be an ear and a voice for so many of us in the community whose voices are being drowned out by the few loudest shouts in the room. Change is coming no matter what. But right now we have the opportunity to mindfully and intentionally create the structures for positive growth in the community, which benefits the greatest number of people. I would like to see improved healthcare and access to healthcare through improved housing in our area. No matter your age, everyone needs access to healthcare, and in a timely manner too. But currently, so many of our crucial healthcare staff are housing burdened, paying up to 50% of their income on housing alone. 1 in 5 students is homeless at Cal Poly Humboldt. And myself and so many others are vulnerable to the increasing rent that our landlords are imposing on us. We need more protections for renters in order to protect and preserve our community as we grow and change into the future.
Jeffrey Scott Sterling, your closing statement, please.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me out here, as well as the volunteers and staff KEET, North Coast Media, and as well as my fellow candidates to taking the first step to running for city council. It's huge to get involved in our city government. Our due process is important. Our voices are important. We, the people, have the chance to make the change. So electing me for city council, allow me to be your voice. Let me listen to your concerns, and let's go to the right direction to bring Arcata to a brighter future, because the future is now and it's tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Kimberly White, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. I've had the honor to serve on the Arcata Planning Commission for over 3 years, and I'm ready to take the next step. Like many, I came to Arcata, Goudini, over in the Redwoods, to attend Cal Poly Humboldt, where I received my master's degree. I fell in love, and I never left. I have lived in the land of the Wiyut for more than 30 years. I am running because of my passion for affordable housing, home ownership opportunities, and long-term solutions for the unhoused with dignity and respect. I am running to be a voice for those who have been left out. I want to protect our seniors, our BIPOC community, the LGBTQ community, the undocumented, and the unhoused, all through the lens of equity, because it permeates through everything. I believe in order to deepen democracy, we must engage the entire community. It is essential to have a well-functioning democracy that all voices be heard. I bring my experience as a community organizer, my passion in community engagement, and my experience as a planning commissioner. I will take that same determination that I have had for North Arcata, and I will serve all of Arcata.
Dana Quillman, your final comments, please.
My platform is No New World Order. All of our problems that are happening right now, we cannot solve if we don't have freedom. And right now, our freedom is on the line. We need to do everything we can to protect our U.S. Constitution, our freedom of speech, our right to bear arms, because our state and federal governments are captured. They're captured and they're corrupted. And so if we don't have people elected here in our locales who are aware of all the censorship that's gone on and all the lies that have been told to us, and the knowledge that our mainstream media is keeping the most important information from all of us, then we are just going to go down the tubes. Because right now, our government has been co-opted by large corporate, elite, powerful people that do not really care about us individuals. So having someone on council that's aware of everything that's really going on is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Thank you.
This concludes tonight's program. I'd like to thank KEET-TV for airing this forum to help encourage voters to participate in government and become knowledgeable. Membership in the League of Women Voters is open to all women and men 16 years of age and older. Check out our website at lwvhc.org. Our website includes a complete schedule of upcoming candidate forums as well as information about our league. For more information about local and statewide candidates and the elections, go to Voters Edge website at votersedge.org/ca. I'd like to thank those of you who took the time to phone in your questions. We've all gotten a clearer picture of the issues in our community because of your questions. And finally, I'd like to thank the candidates themselves for taking the time from their very busy schedules to answer questions of the voters. Thank you also for having the dedication to democracy to run for this very important office. Thank you all for watching, and please return your vote by mail ballot in the mail, in a secured drop box, at a polling place, or vote in person at your precinct on November 8th. Power is in your vote. Thank you.